Hello, something guys and gals. This is Something Guy 912. There's a lot of things you can criticize about the gaming industry. They don't take risks, opting for the same everything sandbox, corridor, first person shooters. They leech their customers for money on the short term, such as slice and dice DLC or pre orders for the season pass. But you'd be hard pressed to make a criticism of the gaming industry as sexist. Oh, sure, people have done it. Anita had her attempt to do so, and failed if she had to remove her ratings in her posts, and most mainstream feminists make light criticisms about said media in the same vein as Anita without looking it for themselves. And we get pseudo-intellectual, barely humorous approaches to it, such as with Adam Ruins Everything. So A.R.E, as we are going to call it here, used to be posted on the CollegeHumor YouTube channel, a channel that would make jokes about Nazis, incest, violence, and other triggering subjects, but seeing that college campuses have become adult daycare centers overnight, CollegeHumor followed with them down that rabbit hole, such as this video where Adam makes a vain attempt to explain why the gaming industry caters to men. This video is now on the True TV YouTube channel, a actuality TV channel that used to be known as Crime TV, but seeing that view count matters more than substance of said content, it's no surprise that True TV would post this pile of dog shit. And it makes me think, have they put a time slot onto this piece of garbage video on cable TV? How quickly is this lie going to be propagated that the gaming industry, or the gamers, don't want women in games, and not that women don't want to play the same video games that male gamers do? While fortunately True TV does have their ratings and comments up, that doesn't say anything about Adam's reception to the feedback on his video. So who knows if he's living in his own echo chamber. Let's defeat another pseudo-intellectual critic of gaming, shall we?
Early video games like Pong were totally unisex.
I have no idea how this is supposed to be an argument that gaming was much more innocent back then. You would think the reason that Pong was unisex was that it had so few pixels that you couldn't really discern anything other than the two paddles and the dot. Also, the paddles and dot themselves are obviously unisex, or gender neutral if you want to call it, so it's kind of a weird thing to point out anyway.
In fact, the game was marketed to the entire family.
Yes, because Pong is based on ping pong, a lighter version of tennis where everyone can play. Also, take note of the term marketed to the entire family, because that will play a role into the coming points Adam will make.
What about Pac-Man? He was a boy.
True, but the game was so popular with women that when it came time for a sequel, the developers gave it a female main character.
The same female character, might I add, Anita criticized for being a Ms. Male character, someone filling the role of a man with a sex change. And they were doing this as an affront to cater to women's interests of all things, so really, you can't get anywhere trying to satisfy feminists, much less Anita Sarkeesian.
Ms. Pac-Man.
Aw, yeah, I'm spooky.
Not Mrs., Ms. She was a modern 80s career woman.
I have an MBA in eating ghosts.
Yeah, that's quite the fulfilling job, isn't it? I wonder just how many male gamers played Ms. Pac-Man, me included, because you're going to realize that Adam is under the impression that male gamers never ever touched a Ms. Pac-Man game in their lives, even though it succeeded over its predecessor.
And not only was much of the audience female, many of the developers were too.
I have some doubts about this. What kind of games, besides Ms. Pac-Man, mind you, did females enjoy? How long, by chance, would these females play the games? Since these games were catered to the family, of course you could say that part of the female audience could include your mother or great aunt, for instance, but I don't think they're going to play said game to the same extent that a man would.
Among the stars of early game design were Atari's Carol Shaw, Centipede creator Donna Bailey, and Roberta Williams, an adventure game pioneer and company co-founder, whose King's Quest series was a massive hit among gamers of all stripes.
Well, good for them. They made a name out of themselves beyond just simply having the right genitals at the right time. But guess who the new faces of female developers are going to be attributed with? Zoe Quinn, Brianna Wu, professional victims who need a shoulder to cry on and a fountain to catch their tears as an excuse for their lack of skill or merit at making good video games, or any video game for that matter. Sure, there are indeed some talented female developers, but notice that most, if not all of them, don't harangue their audience about how female they are.
Cool, seems like everything's great. Can I play my game now?
Keep note of this little kid that follows around Adam as he lectures him on about the downfall of the gaming industry, because he's going to be the male gaming straw man of this argument, because if you can't attack the argument, attack the person, right?
Nope, because all of that changed thanks to the video game crash of 1983. Greedy publishers started flooding the market with shoddy games like I Want My Mommy, Lost Luggage, and E.T. for the Atari 2600, which has been called one of the worst games of all time.
Interesting, Adam. Notice that the video games crashed not because women wanted to get into the boys club, but that publishers got cynical and pumped their library of games with cheap coaster racks at the price of a normal $60 game. That's almost the same comparison to what happened during 2012 with video games being more cynically designed with money rather than heart. But I'm sure you're going to spin this like as if the gaming industry got fed up with women somehow.
Yuck! I'll play anything, and even I know that's a turd.
So you'd also play Ride to Hell Retribution, Inversion, Alone in the Dark Illumination?
Most adults stopped playing games entirely, and the video game market cratered.
He says this quickly, but notice the inflection of adults not playing video games. He's making the assertion that adults stopped playing video games because of the crash, and not that the target market was spread too wide to compensate for such a huge audience, or that adults are too busy working to sit down and play a game for an hour or two, unlike a certain younger audience in mind.
So when it came time to market the original Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo devised a plan. Instead of selling it in the electronics section, they sold it in the toy aisle.
Adults get their new TVs, VHS players, and albums from the electronics aisle, so of course Nintendo isn't going to sell their console there because adults aren't playing their games. Of course, this isn't true now, but it has more to do with the fact that gamers have a bigger wallet and greater accessibility of said games than during the past.
But by then, the toy aisle was completely separated into pink and blue, boy and girl.
That is still true today, and you know why? Boys and girls have different interests. Of course, there will be a girl who's into some Army action figures, and some boys might want to try out a Polly Pocket, but the grand majority of them don't usually blur that line. In fact, kids will lead the parent to the toys they want. Ironically enough, the girls wanting girl shit and the boys wanting boy shit. It's not like as if the moment a girl wants to touch a Nerf blaster that will burn her hand at the mere touch because she's a woman.
Nintendo had to choose a side. They went with boy.
Okay, this is bullshit. Marketing and economics don't just simply choose what demographic they are going to cater to based on a whim. They look at the number of factors to decide what kinds of things people are interested in. And boys, being interested in guns, violence, and monsters, are obviously going to enjoy games that have guns, violence, and monsters. It's a lot easier to make a game centered around that than a Barbie game, although not to say that hasn't been done to much embarrassment. Nintendo must have known that these male gamers were playing the old Atari systems more often and longer, whereas girls would more than likely play it for barely half an hour or so and move on to something else. Again, hashtag not all, but you get the idea.
And then they marketed to those boys relentlessly.
What's it like to play the Nintendo Entertainment System?
Again, boys are going to have more fun playing games centered around violence most of the time, and making a game involve that is relatively easy to do. I mean, look at the game they are playing in this commercial, Duck Hunt. You shoot mallard ducks out of the sky to get more points. Duck hunting, or hunting for that matter, is a sport that is largely dominated by a male demographic. You put two and two together and you get sexism, apparently.
Other brands soon followed suit.
Introducing Game Gear from Sega that separates the men from the boys.
Yeah, how misogynist of them, even though what they were saying is that boys will grow up playing their console, which is a pretty high sell, but a high sell nonetheless.
And kept marketing to them as they grew up.
Oh, what a fucking travesty! Video game chivalry with a little dash of sexism. You know that other women will insult other women by saying that they are acting like a man or are too butch, right? Men being girls and girls being men aren't something that should be heralded like the Rosetta Stone.
It's not the size of your howitzer, it's what you do with it.
You know, you could say that line is based on meritocracy because women don't have a howitzer at all. You could almost say that games reward those who are good at playing it. Strange indeed.
I got this pulling a 360 stalefish.
Boys? Being dangerous and risque? Wow, what a revolutionary discovery. It's not like the testosterone in our system would trigger such acts, could it? Nope, men are absolutely the same to girls here, folks.
I know you like that. I know you love that.
Oh, on top of it all, they are pandering to straight cis men as well. You know, video games could be so much better if there was some gay-on-gay advertising, but since there isn't, no gay or bisexual man has ever touched a video game in their lives. I'm snaking it, TJ Kirk. But to be serious, that was supposed to be a joke commercial, considering the game of which they were marketing to was not E or T rated. An alcoholic squirrel goes through a life of debauchery and expense in the same 3D world that made Banjo-Kazooie.
It's all about the control.
Yeah, some men like to take control in a relationship, and some women like men to take control in their relationship. You've heard the stereotype that men are the breadwinners, right? Are these new things have you filtered through your feminist lens as being egregious in nature?
You are so totally whipped.
I'm not even sure what game they're trying to sell here. Maybe a console that has such games like Max Payne, Lara Croft, and Crash Bandicoot. Also, they're implying that Max Payne is, in this scenario, being cucked by Lara Croft, or a plan that Lara Croft uses a lip in some instances to beat the bad guy. Also, how is it that a market that caters to men could you even have a main character be female in the first place? It's almost like men don't give a shit what pixels are on the screen as long as they are having a good time.
Come and play with me.
I'm trying to play my game, but this one guy keeps kicking my ass. Is it the Kate Upton 27? Yeah, the Kate Upton 27.
And after decades of this kind of advertising,
What's up, bitch?
Oh no! He said bitch once! And we all know from the Anita Sarkeesian playbook that if you say bitch once, without context or regardless of the nature of the slur, that's really problematic.
we now think of video games as being the exclusive domain of the male sex.
I believe only you think video games are exclusive to men. While I know that men comparatively play more games more often than women, I'm not against women having some fun times too. In fact, look at the kinds of reactions male gamers have when a female gamer is playing on the same server as they are. They give her free shit just under the vain chance that she'll slob on their joystick. They're most certainly not getting kicked out of the medium as you purport.
Okay, those ads are weird, but boys just like video games more than girls do.
Sorry, Jake, that's a straight-up myth. More adult women play video games than teenage boys do.
Okay, this is a load of bullshit wrapped around a neat little bow. Notice the game of which they are depicted as. Bejeweled, Candy Crush, or what have you, are not the kinds of video games that we are talking about here, Adam. Those are mobile games. Games which you can play for minutes at a time on a device that most, if not everyone, in the Western world has, a conventional cell phone. Yes, women do play more mobile games than boys do because they don't spend nearly as much time or at the ready to put nearly 600 down on a console and a few titles because they aren't hardcore, as we'd call it. The conflation that casual game like those should be measured to games like Dark Souls, Warcraft 3, or Killzone is like measuring teaspoons to gallons equally. Even the people who play these kinds of games don't consider themselves gamers. Even I don't consider myself a gamer despite owning a laptop and console with few titles in hand because I don't passionately buy every single new title that gets released on the Xbone because I'm a cynical, skeptical asshole who views these games as more of the same with less heart. Also, how is it that adult women play more games than teenage boys do, despite your claim earlier that video games are the exclusive domain of the male sex? Either there isn't as many women playing video games as men are, or they are, in fact, not being pushed out from said medium. You can't have it both ways, Adam. It's better to have no standards than double standards.
That's just counting stupid phone games.
So? Games are games, Jake.
Wow, Adam, just wow. Even this kid recognizes the false equivalency. Imagine if I were you, Adam, making the claim that grapes sell less by the bunch than a single orange, and you tell me that that is the case because oranges are much heavier than most grapes are, so will cost more for each by weight, and that people buy more oranges than grapes. And I go, so? Fruit is fruit! Everyone has a fucking phone, Adam. Even I have those same casual games on my phone. Not Candy Crush, but like Star Wars Heroes or Clash of Clans. And notice how those two mobile games involve turn-based combat and strategy, two genres that are also heavily dominated by men. So if your claim that women are getting kicked out of this medium is true, then that means Even when you factor in mobile games, men should be playing them more than women. But what a wonderful world we live in, where we can say women are getting kicked out of games, and then say women play more games than boys do.
All that means is that mainstream consoles like PS4 and Xbox One are refusing to serve a huge untapped market.
Okay, you might have a point there, but I think it has less to do with sexism more than it has to do with companies taking less risks to try to gain more short-term profits. I'm all for the idea of encouraging women to play these games and try to tap into that market, such as with that embarrassing Barbie game, but I'm not going to wring the publisher's arm and proclaim they are sexist if they don't want to either. Not to mention, this entire premise is under the idea that people blindly, lovingly buy products that cater to their sex, and that alone. Like as if the moment that I see an ad for the newest Call of Duty that my wallet just jumps out of my asshole and gives them money, and it doesn't do that at all for a woman. Not advertising to a different market doesn't necessarily mean that they won't be interested to play it, because people aren't just so dumbfoundingly simplistic in what interests.
Untapped market.
Also, this untapped market thing, again, you said that women play more mobile games than boys do, and I'm sure that some phones are made by the same companies that make consoles, such as Microsoft for their Windows Phone and Sony for Verizon and Samsung. So clearly, they are tapping into that market, but only on the mobile game area, because women are definitely dominating in that aspect. You need to be more clear what you mean by untapped market instead of disingenuously making the claim that no company ever caters to them.
We're talking millions of women who would love to play more games, but are being pushed away from the hobby by weird, old-fashioned marketing that publishers are sticking with, seemingly out of sheer force of habit.
Force of habit.
Then, here is my suggestion to those women who feel as though a game not marketed to them is completely off bars. Ignore the fucking advertisement and buy the fucking game. Simple as that. If we're going to make the claim that women hold exactly the same interests as men do when it comes to the kinds of games they want to play, then it should be irrelevant who they are marketing to. As long as the game sells on its own merits, then there should be no reason why women are buying these games simply out of how the marketing works. Also, they market that way because it gets fucking results, Adam.
Ow, who's doing that?
Ah, shit. The matriarchy is here. Get to your red pill websites, quick! And again, yet another woman playing mobile games on her phone. But we still have to keep this idea that women really do want to play Gears of War 3 or XCOM Enemy Unknown, and only those pesky-ass advertisements are keeping them from playing it. How fucking misogynist it must be to simplify women's desires based on what they see on the TV screen, huh?
Why are you hurting me, Megan?
Because I'm mad at you. I like games.
Only mobile games, though, because if you wanted to make the argument that she likes those console games, you would have materialized out of an Xbox console playing Halo 3 or something.
I've always liked them.
But, only the mobile games, because I don't really want to put the same amount of investment wasting hours away playing Fallout New Vegas or such. It's like we're comparing Scrabble to foosball, for fuck's sake.
It's just sometimes I feel like they don't love me back.
Ugh, the acting. Are you sure that you don't like the kinds of games this kid is playing? Maybe you don't like seeing heads fall off of people. It's just gross. Like Anita Sarkeesian said way back before she made a career out of telemarketing scams.
You act like I'm not supposed to play them or something just because you listen to all these stupid ads.
Yep, you fucking heard it here. This kid is absolutely responsible for how top-level marketers market their fucking games, and that this kid is so woefully inept in his own insight of outside influence that something as innocuous and mundane as a TV advert can convince him that women don't belong in video games, even though that falls completely in the face of women supposedly playing more video games than boys do, and that he would project that onto his older sister when she herself is playing a mobile game and not, say, a console, because I guess she is also so incapable of thinking for her goddamn self. That's a very far-reaching field of straw man, I say before me, I do say.
Jake, video games are the greatest new art form of the century. They can do anything. Saying they're for just one gender is ridiculous.
Okay, Adam, can you tell me, with a straight face, that men just as equally enjoy knitting, hiking, yoga, and makeup as women do, huh? Are you under the impression that because men more than often play these video games, not mobile games, mind you, that people have this set in their minds that only men can enjoy video games? Do you think that All people are created equal and under the same circumstances, with the same fields of interest, with the same passions as others, because guess what? They aren't. Yes, we shouldn't kick people out who are truly passionate for the mediums they enjoy, but we also shouldn't point the finger at the industry or people who enjoy the industry when it shows that clearly the boys are enjoying these mainstream consoles and girls rarely enjoy mobile games, such as this girl right here. Maybe you should take those fucking glasses off and see for yourself. You are wearing the lens of Anita Sarkeesian's talking points.
Yeah, it's like saying movies are just for girls.
What? Who the fuck says that? Do you mean romantic comedies are just for girls? Romance novellas are just for girls? This is yet another false equivalency.
Or books are just for dads.
Again, what? What kinds of books? You can't just say books without specifying the genre, for fuck's sake. If you were to say comic books are for boys, I'd see your analogy, but just books in general is just fucking absurd.
When we think about video games in such a limited way, it makes the games worse.
How so? Give me an example of a game that had a female lead and then got changed and was all the worse for it. Give me a number of lost revenue towards only carrying the boys when it comes to mainstream titles. Oh, wait, you don't have any.
It loses the industry money.
Long term or short term? You can't simplify economics like you are right now. It might lose them money in the short term to attempt to market to a demographic that don't play games at the same rate or quantity as boys do, but they will be making some money in the long term when they do so. I have an experiment for you, Adam. Make a game that is completely female-centric in every way and try to advertise it to boys. Then, do the same exact opposite with a male-centric game and girls. Let's see who fucking prevails in the market.
And it's really mean to your sister.
Well, if she made the attempt to play a console and you pushed her away, I'd see it, but this is just a sentimental low point to make someone like me feel guilty because of some exec's choice to market their games. Let them have that choice. Don't treat them like sexist for doing so and then tacitly making me as guilty by association.
Just wait, he'll burn out in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, I've seen this before.
And you've lost me, Adam. Go fuck yourself with your straw man of a straw man. Gamers aren't these entitled pieces of shit who don't want anyone else to touch their plaything. They simply don't want market forces carrying to some group for the sake of that group. If women come out as the leading demographic of playing mainstream console video games, then by all means, execs are going to cater to them. But I'm not going to raise my fist in the air and claim sexism on the execs parts, because A, of course it's not sexist when it begets a man apparently, and B, I'm not a whiny little cunt. If anyone is putting up a tantrum in the name of misogynies, it's the feminists and simple-minded people like yourself who think advertisements are sending subliminal messaging like 1984's Truth Broadcast. And that is all for today, folks. Next up, I'm going to criticize a transgender by the name of Justin, who goes by Riley in their made-up fictional world where it's just a phase dad is irrelevant. See you soon, Mr. Dennis.